Hey, good evening. What's good, everybody? Co-creator, man, I love you, bro. I appreciate you to the fullest. KLF, Peter Mikas, man, appreciate all y'all, man, for real. L Train, love you, bro. Appreciate you coming in here as well. This is my first live stream, just to let y'all know. So I'm sure you're gonna hear some maybe delays, maybe some echoes. Probably a lot, to be quite honest with you. Probably a lot. But nonetheless, this is how we get our kinks out. What's up, Cuckoo Bird? What's up, Austin? Thanks for DMing me, bro. I appreciate you, man. So let's break it down. I'll give it a couple minutes just for a couple people to kind of come in late, because I did spur of the moment just drop this real quick. I want everyone to kind of understand what was going on. I know I was on Coach's show in the AM, and Coach B Stocks, at Coach B Stocks, by the way. Man, that's my brother right there, my Cali brother. I was on a show, though, and I was talking about a couple strategies in regards to calls and the way I play calls. And right after that stream on Reddit, on Twitter, the only platforms I use, Discord actually as well, I did get some DMs in regards to calls, and a lot of people had never done them before. Ironically, they're like, yo, I'm thinking about doing this type of call, and they didn't really know where to start. So, you know, I'm individually responding to every person that ever asked me questions, because to be honest, it floats my boat. That's why I like doing it. And I was just like, dang, there's a lot of people that really just don't understand fully how it works. And man, let me tell you something. I lost a lot of money on calls. I had no idea how that worked either. And I was like, man, if I had someone like myself that could at least give me the breakdown, I wouldn't have had to learn the hard way. So that's the point of this. I was gonna just make a couple videos on a couple different routes I take, but I don't have the time. And then sometimes the questions that I'm getting, I'd rather just answer some of them live. So I'm gonna break it down to you like this. If you have questions, please put it in the chat, please, because I want to make sure that I can answer these questions. If you think of questions after this stream is over, again, please ask the question in the comment section, because I really want to make sure that if you have this same question, the chances are someone else does as well. And sometimes people are a little embarrassed to ask these answers. Also, rather than DMing me and messaging me directly and then maybe not helping that person that never had the courage to ask, maybe you'll be able to help them out in that aspect as well. Man, it's fucking weird without someone being next to you to chop it up with. So this is funny, man. This is definitely funny. But nonetheless, we'll get started here now that we got a few people in here that definitely were in the DMs asking me some questions. So nice to see all you guys, man. Ghost, greetings from the Windy City. Beto, what's going on, Beto? Nice to see you in here. 68 Spindrift came from Coach B's channel. That's amazing, man. Coach B, like I said, is my brother. Got that microphone coming. Sounds like a fan is running. You're correct, the fan is running. This is why with co-creator. Boom. Probably sounds a lot better. Please let me know in live time if you guys catch any other aspects here. Anybody know what time Champion Vibe streams? I do not want to overlay. If y'all could just throw the time in there, that would be amazing. Seriously, that would be amazing if y'all could let me know. Co-creator, do I need a mod? I do not have a mod. This is the first live stream. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I do. I would love a mod. I could use all the help I can get, man. I'm not the most technologically sound dude. I've been wanting to post some videos for a long period of time. This is legitimately the very first time I'm streaming by myself on my own software and getting it up and running. So I'll play with some of the things, and hopefully I can make it I'm your Huckleberry, my man. Hopefully I can make it you know, make it a little bit more pretty on the eye, so to speak. Let's roll, baby. L Train, let's roll. So let's talk about it. Calls. I want to talk about calls from the gate, like from the very beginning. A call option itself, it's for me, I'm using these as option trading. And the word option is in there for a reason. There are a lot of options. It's not just it expires worthless or you buy shares. There's a lot of options, and I want to break those down for you. But I also want to break it down what type of call you're doing in regards to what type of maneuver you're trying to accomplish. And I'll get into details. Now, I want to start this off before I even get there. This is not financial advice. I'm breaking it down to you as simple as I can. You cannot hold me liable for losing any money in the call game. I'm telling you right now, you will lose money. None of this information I'm going over to you is to be considered advice. It is literally here for one reason and one reason only, to hopefully give you a better outlook and understanding for how they work. What decisions you make and what calls you decide to purchase, that is all on you. At the end of this video, I will be sharing not one, but 2 call options that I use personally. Again, just because I use them does not mean that you should use them. This is just something I do that I have fun with. Champion Vibe in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Thank you. I never want to overlap Champion Vibe. Shout out to Champion Vibe for starters. Oh, let me pause for a second. Ricky Sebastian just subscribed. You guys, that's my first live subscriber, just so y'all know. Keeping it 100. That's my first live subscriber. So if you're in here and you haven't subscribed yet, I pity the fool. It's just right there. You click. Like, boop. Give yourself an alert, like, boop. And you will get some good information, hopefully, moving forward. Thank you for subscribing. I'm a jokester, y'all, so I'm probably going to be talking shit here and there. Don't take nothing I say personal. Please do not. But yeah, so option trading itself. Okay, you have options, right? There's multiple routes to take, so I'm going to break it down to you this way. If you are in a position, James G just subscribed. Thank you so much. If you're in a position to where you really love a company and you really want to invest in this specific company, I'm going to use the example Clove, because I am head over Jordans for Clove. I literally love Clove more than any other company that I've ever had conviction for. That's me personally. I've done a lot of research. Y'all have probably seen it on the subreddit we're in. I love the company. So I'm long on the company, right? Now, you can use call options for one thing in particular that I actually like, especially when I was still learning the industry itself. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you want as many shares as possible for Clove, but technically you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and you also don't want to invest too much money on shares, because maybe you got bills to pay. Maybe you have a lot, coming in and out monthly, and it's hard for you to kind of tie up too much funds. Options, call options, it's not a bad way. I think of it as like a layover plan. Layaway or layover. Someone help me out there. I think it's layaway. Layaway, okay? If you're like, man, I really want 100 shares of Clove, but I'm not about to drop $1,000, or they're what, 8 and some change. So Mazel just subscribed. Thank you, Mazel. I appreciate you. I'm going to be pausing to say thank you for the subscriptions, because I will forget who subscribed live. So forgive me for it being broken up this way. But yeah, so call option. So rule number 1 is understanding what a call option is. When you buy one call, it's 100 shares. Okay? Each call is 100 shares. A lot of people even have questions there. 100 shares. So back to the fact that maybe you want to go long on Clove, and financially you're like, I'm not about to keep buying 100 shares at a time. It's a lot of money, right? What you can do is very simple. You can buy an option, right? And this is where layaway kind of comes into mind to me. If I'm like, yo, I want 100 shares of Clove, I don't want to stretch myself too thin. You buy one call, and that's 100 shares down the road that you could potentially purchase. The key word is potentially, and I'll break this down. So let's say, by the way, each call, I know at this point you've probably at least played with the numbers to kind of see there's 2 key elements: the strike price and the expiration date. Okay? Expiration date, in my eyes, is one of the strongest ones to be aware of. Time is your enemy in the call options. Okay? The other one is strike. Now, strike is the price per share that you believe. I think it's LF Bell or IF Bell 70. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. The strike price is what you believe that price is at one point going to become, or, you know, if you're going long on Clove, I'll explain it this way. Let's say I put a strike price of $10 on Clove. I'm saying that Clove will be worth more than $10 at some point or another if I'm planning on executing. Okay? So again, I got 100 shares on one call. I got a strike price of $10. And I'm saying I want to execute this call. Let's say the expiration date is October 15th, for example. Okay, that was one of the questions I had. October 15th, strike of $10. Okay? Now, where does layaway come into play? Well, if I strongly believe that Clove will be more than $10 come October 15th, and I know at that point I could accumulate enough dry powder, cash as we call it, to purchase 100 shares at that point in time, great. I could put this call in play and understand that these 100 shares will be waiting for me come October 15th. As long as that price is beyond $10, it will make sense. Now, listen, there is a premium. When you purchase calls, there is a premium. This premium, very simple. It's a cost per share based upon 100 shares. So if you see 97 cents premium, there's 100 shares, you're spending $97, right? You're not getting that $97 back. It's gone. Okay, that is your ticket to put these 100 shares on layaway that may or may not be there come that expiration date. Why? If October 15th rolls around and it's $9.50 a share and you had a strike price of $10, you're not executing. You're better off just going to the lit market, E-Trade, Robinhood, whatever it is, and purchasing 100 shares at $9.50 versus this obviously $10 strike price, right? So that would be the call would expire worthless, okay? It's not above your strike price at that specific date. It has expired, worthless. Very, very simple, you guys. That $97 that you would have paid in the premium is gone. This goes to what we call the market maker, okay? To tie in one of my theories, there were so many calls and puts, they call it open interest in the call industry, that it almost made sense for market makers to do their best, along with teaming up with hedge funds, to lower the cost per share and make sure that it was under, which I believe at the time was $8.50, because all of those premiums, they pocket, right? The calls expire worthless, they pocket those. So I was saying it was almost making sense with another theory. You can go on my Reddit page for those theories in full detail. But that's what would happen, right? $9.50 come October 15th, they expire worthless. It's just that simple. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to answer some of the questions that are maybe coming in. So give me just one moment. So we got Cool. Thank you for the new subs. I like the faces I'm seeing in here. Me too, co-creator. Hey, Saithaz. I was on live for Saithaz, man, when he got his Clover tap, man. That was cool, man. That was fun. That was a fun show with Tar Heel. Shout out to Tar Heel too, man. He's kind of brought me under his wing too to kind of teach me a few things or two. So shout out to the whole Clove fam. Boom, boom. I pay more for options further out. It's worth it to me. I like that. I will get into that in a moment. Cool. Sorry, that was my garage door opening, y'all. So if y'all heard a crazy noise, that's what that was. That's your call expiring worthless. Now to tap back into, remember, I wanted to go long on Clove, and maybe I didn't want to tie up too many resources, but I still wanted a low stock price just in case it went to the moon, right? So if I think that there's a squeeze play that could potentially occur, and I don't want to tie up too much funds, right? Because maybe I see a couple other plays I want to make. A call option for me makes sense for myself. So now remember, I put the strike price of $10. And again, we're just using October 15th as an example because that was one of the examples someone reached out to me about. And I'll get into details about time. Remember, I say time is my enemy. So October 15th, I think it's gonna squeeze maybe before then is my thought process here, right? I'm gonna be going long, right? But I'm not sure I want to tie up too much funds at this juncture. With that being said, I have my one call, right? And sure enough, the squeeze is happening. Let's say October 15th, we're at, I don't know, $30, okay? At $30 per share, if I didn't have the call, I'm sitting there like, dang, dude, I know I had other options. I know I was kind of concerned with tying up too much funds, but now the price is 30. I'm not going to sit there and buy 100 shares at 30 a watt now. Ah, man. Well, thank God for the layaway program in a sense, right? I had a call on the side. I had 100 shares that I was waiting for. Now, guess what? October 15th comes. The stock price is 30 per share, but I can still buy by executing for $1,000 those 100 shares. Why? My strike price is $10. $10 a pop times 100 shares. I'm spending $1,000 and I'm getting those 100 calls, 100 shares, and I'm getting those 100 shares. Now remember, I had a premium, $97 premium, right? So in a sense, I really paid $1,097, so $10.97 per share, which at that moment in time is phenomenal because remember we said the price was 30. So that's the very first introductory to what a call is. Now, based upon what your reasoning behind calls, it changes everything, okay? Now, let's talk about time, okay? I said time is it's your enemy. It really is, because as the time gets smaller and smaller, meaning it's getting closer and closer to expire, guess what happens? It's not worth as much unless your strike price is also getting closer in that same time frame, right? So think about it this way. I said it's going to hit $10 by October 15th. We're going to stick to the same number example and dates to try to eliminate any confusion. So $10, right? It expires October 15th. The price when I bought it, let's just say it was today when the share price was $8.50, okay? Now, October 1st rolls around. I got 15 days left before it expires. And let's just say Clove is only $9. Well, I'm $1 away from my strike. I got 14 days left until it expires. Obviously, the price per share for that same call is going to be maybe a dime, maybe 15 cents. What do I mean? 15 cents per share. So maybe $15 for that same call, right? So if time is shrinking and the price is not increasing, that same call can be purchased at any given time prior to expiration. It obviously is worth less, right? So this brings me into the next segment. What is your ultimate goal with these calls, right? So let's just say it's not about being long on Clove. Let's just say you think it's gonna squeeze, right? Let's just say I'm sitting here, Ghost goes, hey, Clove is gonna squeeze, Clove is gonna squeeze, Clove is gonna squeeze, which who knows? But let's just say, I say, Clove is gonna squeeze. So I wanna make a lot of money. Well, I don't wanna buy 1 million shares. Financially, maybe I can't afford 1 million shares, right? So some people take advantage of calls. Now again, you're paying fractions on the dollar and you're still wrapping up a lot of calls, right? So if let's just say October 15th is the same date that you're choosing and you have a $10 strike price, I still have options before it expires. And that's what this segment is all about. Before it expires, this is why they call it options, okay? Now, there's multiple options, right? If October 1st comes and the price is only $9.25 per share and I just don't see it increasing, I can always sell that call. The same call I bought, let's just say today, I can still sell up until the date it expires. Again, less time. If the price is not reflecting and increasing at that, less time left on this call, guess what? I'm gonna get less premium back. So maybe I paid 97 cents per share today, $97 for that one call in 100 shares. I might only be able to sell it for 45 cents. But hey, I'm like, yeah, I get to live another day, right? I lost half my investment. It didn't happen. And this is what I'm stuck with, okay? So you can always do this. You can sell prior to the expiration date. And again, you could take the L, right? But there's options. You can also sell prior to the expiration date and make a lot of money, right? How does this work? Well, again, this is for 101, guys. So I hope y'all aren't in a position where you're like, dude, get to the nitty gritty. I know there's a lot of basic questions that I had, so forgive me if I'm explaining it like we're two here, but I want to make sure that everyone fully understands, because the last thing I want is people YOLOing calls, bro, and just not fully getting it, man. It makes me sick when I see that kind of stuff. So again, hopefully this will at least help you make a more informed decision down the road based upon what your ultimate goal is. Now we're sitting here, right? And let's just say, one second, none of this is great. Okay, cool. Appreciate you, Co. So let's just say you're sitting here, right? And you have your $10 strike price, right? You bought it today, 97 cents, let's just call it. The price per share at the time was $8.50, but you paid 97 cents per share, $97 total for your one call. And let's just say September 9th. Everyone likes that date right now, 9/9. Let's say September 9th. Boom. You wake up, pre-market, it's up 50%, close at $15 pre-market, bell rings, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20 pre-market on September 9th. Oh my God. Guess what? That call that you purchased, where you had a strike price of $10 and you paid $97 for the total of 100 of them, guess what? It might at that moment in time, since the strike is not only has been surpassed, but it's also double the strike price. Look, you could be sitting there with the same call that could be going for $12 per share. 100 shares, $1,200. What does that mean? That means even though it hasn't expired yet, expiration date's not here, the option you have is you can actually go ahead and sell that call in the middle of that run, where someone on the other end is going to be purchasing it for maybe a $12 premium. So here it is. I invested $97 today. Clove squeezed $20 per share price. I turn around and I sell it $12 for the premium, $1,200 since there's 100 shares, right? That's the options I have. I can sell it for a loss, I could sell it for a W, or I can hold on to it. Now, if I hold on to it and at the very end of my expiration, Clove is at $50, October 15th, Clove's at $50 a share. I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, I got an option here. Now that it's expiring, I'm going to execute, right? I'm going to execute for what? For $1,000, because that's where my strike was. So I'm like, hey, E-Trade, here's $1,000. I'll execute those 100 calls, 100 shares. I still have options at this point, right? I'm long on Clove, so I'm going to hold these tight. I only paid $10 a watt. Yes. Or some people are like, yo, it's $50 a share. If I sell 100 shares right now, do the math. At 50 a pop, $5,000? I sell $5,000 worth of shares and subtract $1,097 of what I ultimately put in. $97 for the premium, $1,000 for executing my strike price. So now I got a $3,997 profit if my math serves me right. Those are what options are. Zero just subscribed. Appreciate you. Man, I got a lot of subscriptions for my first little stream, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to scroll through one more time real quick, see if we got any questions in here. Did you just read my brain, Scythaz? Yes, I did. When you are involved in a live stream and you see an ass get tatted, you better believe that that person's ass who got tatted, you're now linked brainwave wise. You're damn right. Just maybe win some, lose some. I think maybe he was talking about Co-Creator reading his brain now, but I still feel like I could read Co-Creator's brain too, because he's been in every stream I've ever been in. So if I was wrong there, I don't even care. This probably sounds scary if all you ever watch is Clove, but not all stocks are so manipulated as Clove. Let's talk about that real quick. I'm using Clove as an example because I know that's the questions I'm getting are about calls on Clove. So I use them as an example. The truth is, and I'll get into my two realms of my two types of calls that I like using, and I actually choose volatile stocks. Manipulated or not, I choose volatile stocks. I choose stocks that I think are going to either squeeze, or I choose stocks that I think are just extremely volatile, meaning they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down, and I could play with them the whole time they're going up and down. I pay more for options further out. It's worth it to me. I know I read this already. I will get into that 100%. I do as well, by the way. I do as well. No question looks like this question is awesome. Appreciate you, L Train. Agree. No, 100%. Hit that like button, fam, says Co-Creator. Yes, please. Ghost, this is what's missing on YouTube. Too many furus, not enough educators. I like the way that sounds. Yeah, remember, man, I'm just trying to make sure that people are just protecting themselves. I'm a firm believer that knowledge is power. I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying and go, oh, I get it now, and I'm going to buy. Dude, no. Like, if you're going to buy calls, make sure you start with peanuts. Make sure you start with something that you can afford to lose. I cannot express this enough. You're going to lose on calls. You're going to lose on calls. I promise. So if you start off strong and put in a little too much, you're going to lose, and you're going to be pissed off that you lost. So remember, start off extremely small while you're learning. There's going to be plenty of opportunities, man. That FOMO is real. That fear of missing out is real. So many times I've been like, oh, I'm going to miss out. I got to do the call now, and I got to do the call now, and I got to get more than just one. And dude, chill. Trust me. Years later, there's still plenty of companies that you can do calls on, and it's an infinite amount, to be honest with you. 20 watchers, 1 like, says Co-Creator. It's my voice, Co. It's my voice. Actually, I'm taking notes. We all synced up. Are Robinhood or First Trade good for beginners, or go straight to Fidelity/E-Trade, says Beto? That's a phenomenal question. We actually kind of went through this last night on a live stream, which was our first, our pilot actually, for NFL. No financial limits. Coach B and myself obviously have a show. If you guys missed it, you can see it on my channel shortly. I'll be uploading that version as well. We shot it on his channel. Again, that's Coach B Stocks. If you look him up on YouTube, you can catch it. Real fun, man. It was the pilot, so we're all over the place, man. But we got a couple things we're fine-tuning that I think is going to be a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. So join us, please. To answer your question, Beto, in regards to what platforms, Robinhood, again, they removed a buy button on GameStop Saga. I've never seen such a thing in my life. I know they weren't the only one that removed a buy button, but unfortunately a lot of retail investors were using that platform. And to be quite honest with you, if anybody's going to take away a buy or a sell button from me during hours of operation, I'm staying as far away from them as I can. Whether their reason was validated or not, I'm not here to judge. I just don't want to be a part of such a thing. I got told to use E-Trade when I got into this into the stock game. The person that told me, I trust. He's actually, if I pass, God forbid, he's the one that's gonna work my finances. So I trust him. I like E-Trade. I've used it since the start. And Beto, if you're gonna have questions in the future, I know I could definitely give you the answers if you want to go E-Trade's route. But I'll be honest with you, I do not have any particular platform that I would suggest per se, because I've literally only messed with E-Trade. I did get Robinhood early on when it came out, I think, sometime last year, and they gave me one free stock, which was AMC, ironically, but I've never deposited money on that account, ever. And I never plan on it as well. Hope that answered your question. Shares or calls, your preference, if both, percentage of each. Risky seeds, I think that's a phenomenal question. It depends, again, on what your intent is. I believe shares over calls on anything, but I personally am an investor. I invest, and I consider myself an investor more than a day trader. Do I momentum and swing trade? Yeah. Do I day trade? Seldomly. Most of my day trades turn into swing or momentum plays, so I don't even like to consider myself a day trader. So again, if my intent is to go long on a company, I'm going shares. As far as the percentage, I go like 95% shares, 5% calls, personally. Is that something I'm suggesting for you? No, because I don't know personally what your goal is. I think each stock has a different goal, at least for me. Tesla, Clove, DraftKings, Digital Turbine, aka Apps, Lemonade, obviously the FANG stocks, Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon. I can go into UPS, FedEx, McDonald's, Starbucks, Nike, Foot Locker. Those are like my core holdings. I have 100% shares, 0% calls. However, which I'll get into my technique in just a few here, a lot of those companies I watch a lot, and I kind of have seen their trends. Those are the times that sometimes I will throw some calls in on any given stock I hold, because I might see a play. And that's why I'm considering it more of like a momentum or a swing trade when I do my call options, because not always do they pay off overnight. Has it happened before? Yeah. I had calls on Dave & Buster's, which is Play, Play. I had calls on them one day. The vaccine results came out. Man, my calls, I think, went up like 400, maybe even more, 400%, something crazy overnight. Like I woke up and it was like, oh my God. So I sold all my calls that day. Then I was like, you know what? Sure, they might have been approved, but isn't it going to take a long time for the vaccine to get distributed? Hey, this might be, you know what? I put puts on the same company I just made buku money on calls. The same day I sold my calls, and 2 days later sold the puts. So, you know, there's ways you can kind of play with volatility, and that's what I like doing. So I can't give you a specific percentage because I really don't know what your intent is with that stock. Again, if that's like a long haul company that you're gonna plan on investing on, and it's for your retirement, and you're 30 years old and you got like 30 plus years, you know, I'm 95%, if not 98% shares over calls. But if I'm doing like a momentum trade or a swing trade, you know, that all varies on what I'm seeing and what I feel comfortable doing. Great question, KLF. Do I buy in the money, way out of the money, or somewhere in the middle? It's a great question. So I never ever buy in the money calls. And Coach B has like a nasty savage in the money call route he likes to take. So I'll leave that portion to him. No, I do not. I do out of the money every time, and the threshold is different based upon what I'm seeing. So, you know what? Let's kick off these two theories that these two routes I take, and maybe that'll kind of shed some light on that aspect of it. So we're gonna start off with the one that I brought up on Coach's show yesterday, where I got the most questions on, obviously, because it's the only one I spoke about. But ATH calls, that's what I've came up with. I call them all-time high calls. Some people have like stock screeners where they're like screening behind the scenes on some algorithms and certain percentages, and Yeah, on E-Trade, I do put like 5% up or 5% down on volatile stocks, and sometimes 10% or 15%. Like I literally go on E-Trade. For those of you that don't know what this is, I go on E-Trade and I'm like, alert, 10%, up or down. Also alert, maybe 5 million in volume, depending on the stock price, depending on what their average volume is. And I'll make an alert like that of some kind. And then, you know, every once in a while I get an alert and I'm like, yo, DraftKings just went down 10% today. What? And not that I'm not aware of this, but I have a real job, so I work a lot of hours. So sometimes I do miss things. So that's where the alerts kind of come into play. But my all-time high route that I take is, the first thing I look for is a company that I'm already invested in because I've followed them enough. I know for the most part their earnings, how much they're making per se. I know, you know, if they're profitable or if they're on their way to profitable on a hyper growth company. So I know a lot about the company. So when I see what I'm looking for, which is like a 10% dip in one day or 30 to 50% off of their all-time high, right? So to give an example, we'll go with DraftKings. $75 is its all-time high. I look up and I see they're down 10%. And I'm like, yo, dude. So the first thing I have to do to protect myself is figure out what was with that drop. Is there news? Did something, you know, did we fall off because there was an acquisition that didn't go through or something? Or did they get banned in a state? Did they lose a deal with ESPN? Like, what happened, right? I got to determine what happened. I can't just go, oh, it's down 10%, call. No, I got to really do my research. And that's why I stick to stocks I already follow, because it's not hard for me to find their research, to be honest with you. So I go through my rabbit hole trying to find any information on why DraftKings was down. And I think at the time it was like a Hindenburg research, ironically, put a hit piece out on them about overseas. There's a platform that they had partnered up with SB Tech at one point that did the reverse merger. Not to get too complex, but they're doing some illegal activity, like bookie break the knees if you don't pay type, rinsing money, dirty laundry money. I don't know what it was. It was garbage in my eyes. I knew a lot about DraftKings. I know the struggle DraftKings went through prior, when the state legislators were kind of attacking them for letting people kind of play these fantasy draft games in states that's not legal to gamble, and they beat the claim. So I already know they got their shit together in my eyes, and I believe in the company. So when I saw they were down 10% and I saw what it was, I was like, you know what? That's not gonna last. So at the time, I think it was, I could be off with the days, and I'm far away from my computer for the stream. I want to say it was maybe April sometime is when I initiated the call. So I first put a call on them then. And I want to talk about something real quick. So I always do 2 calls at a time. I always do even numbers. I do 2, maybe 4, maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe 10, depending on my premium. Why I like even numbers is because if I get a crazy jump where like my calls double in value, meaning I might have bought them for $1, but now that same call I bought a couple days ago is being sold for $2, I sell half of my calls at that point, and then I have the other half that are in a sense free. And if I got enough time, I'll let them roll for a little longer to see if maybe it's going to continue on this uptrend, right? So with DraftKings, to rewind back to where I was, I bought 2 calls. Pretty decent premium too. It was like, I want to say like $6, maybe even $8. It was expensive. It was expensive per share. It was like $8 per share, 100 shares, $800. Like, it wasn't a cheap call, but I bought a couple of them, right? And they continued to go down. So I bought 2 more a couple days later. Continued to go down. Bought a couple more. I think at one point I had 10 calls on DraftKings, I think is at one point what it is. And this brings me to my next segment. So I buy in evens because if it doubles up, I can keep half and I'm free rolling, right? But on the other aspect of it, I also do the same thing as far as DCA goes, down cost average, right? So I can't time the market. Nobody can. You can get lucky and fortunate, so to speak, at some points or another, But to think you can just time it, it's not realistic. There's so many variables, it's impossible to predict, especially considering like it could just be an overall red day in the market and drop the calls even more. And you're like, how could they go down any more? Hey, dude, too many variables. So I actually don't just blow my wad and put the amount of money that I'm willing to invest in calls all at once. I actually break it up. So if I'm willing to throw $5,000 in calls for one company, once I see that dip, I'm like, all right, I'm willing to put $5,000 on this. I'll start off with maybe $1,000 worth of calls. If it drops the next day, I'll buy another 1,000. I literally reduce, just like shares. My median gets smaller and smaller and smaller as I'm buying them. Now, guess what? Every once in a while, I buy 2 calls, it skyrockets the next day. And you're like, oh, why didn't I do more? Like, oh my God. Dude, chill, bro. There's going to be more stocks that are going to come back. That's what I have to tell myself. It was so hard to master that, but now I feel like, cool. The 2 I bought ran up the next day. I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take it. But yeah, I look at it this way. I want to be able to have resources to lower it if it continues to get beat up, and or if it runs off, I'm happy. Moving forward, back to DraftKings and back to the question of out of the money calls and how much I go on. So my ATH, my all-time high calls, I pick the all-time high as my strike, right? So if it's a day where they drop 10%, right? DraftKings goes from $75, for example, to what, $750, so $67.50, right? My strike is 75. That's the way I do it. However, in some cases, DraftKings continue to go. I think they got as low as like 45, if I'm not mistaken, and I still had a 75 strike price, right? I'm adding to my calls the same strike. Yes, you can add different strikes. Some people like to stagger it, but my ATH, my all-time high calls, my ghost calls, I always pick the same strike. It's just what I do. I also pick the same expiration date. Now to get into what, I think it was LB, I don't want to say this wrong, just to get used to and familiar with some of you guys out here. I think it's LF Bell, but I could be wrong. We'll call you Bell. To answer you, Bell, I'm getting a long away date. So if we talk about the call I did in particular as an example, DraftKings itself, right? I think it might have been like April time, maybe May, when I bought these calls originally, and added to throughout June and July even. My expiration was July of 2022. So I think I gave myself about a year, like 12 months, if I'm not mistaken. Minimum. So for my ghost calls, for my all-time high calls, minimum, I want 2 full rounds of earnings. And I'll break down why shortly. However, back to square one. I am very, very careful that when I see a company drop in price, I look at earnings as well. Okay? This is not only to maybe justify why their price is getting hammered, maybe they had a bad earnings call. But I also am very careful of when I buy calls, because sometimes you buy calls right before earnings, you see a buildup in price, you know, because earnings are next week. And then all of a sudden you don't really pay too much mind, and then the stock drops all of a sudden. You're like, what happened? And then it was earnings were just around the corner, and you got the nice run up for earnings, but didn't get rid of them in time. So when I'm doing these all-time high calls, I'm also taking into consideration when their earnings call is. If it already happened and that's why they're getting beat up, or if it's right around the corner, I got to be careful. So when I say 2 full rounds of earnings, I'm talking 6 months. Like every 3 months they give earnings. So in some cases, maybe earnings is like 2 weeks away. I'm going 6 months and 2 weeks. In that specific scenario, I'm getting 3 earnings calls, not just 2. Minimum 2 full rounds. So if earnings is 1 week away, I'm going 2 full rounds after that. If earnings just happen, I'm going 3 rounds of earnings. Okay, so 9 months. If earnings happen today and then it gets hammered for 3 days straight, and I'm like, oh, they'll bounce back, and I put calls on it, and it rides up to the top again, I want at least 9 months. Okay, that's for all-time high calls. Okay, now I will say if you notice with the DraftKings example, I went out a year. It depends also on the stock itself. Bell is absolutely correct with the timing, right? So I can't time the market. If I give myself enough time, I'll be okay. So what I like to do is I like to go, in some cases, the last date that's available. Clove, prime example. My calls do not expire until January of 2023. No joke. I haven't bought one call that expires before that time frame. No joke. Because I'm saying to myself, even if Clove doesn't squeeze where my strike is in 2023, I genuinely believe that's almost like a layaway plan in a sense. It's going to be so much more expensive than I feel my strike is that I'll probably end up executing. Now, if we get a crazy run and then we do get a squeeze, yeah, maybe I'll cluck those calls. Maybe I'll sell them. And I'm not selling my shares, but yeah, maybe I'll sell the calls. Use those profits to even buy back in more shares. Depends. But yeah, that's that, right? So why do I have 2 or 3 months of earnings in between my expiration date? A lot of you guys will probably realize this if you have not realized it already, that before earnings comes through, a lot of times these calls, the price per share starts to kind of trickle in the upward trend, right? You notice that? Like earnings come up in 2 weeks, they're announced that earnings are coming up in 2 weeks, and then you kind of see like a slow gradual pace in some cases of the cost per share increasing. So the reason why I like at least 2 full months of that in a call is because maybe I'll get a nice run up to earnings, the first earnings call that's coming up, right? And then I can maybe sell those calls I just purchased. Maybe I don't get the increase that I thought I would the first time around, and I'm like, all right, cool, don't worry. Next time I can hit it, right? I can maybe get it on the second round. So I'm giving myself for the stock to kind of organically grow. Now with DraftKings, $75 strike is like, what are you doing when it was at 50, when it was at 45? Well, it's because I've seen DraftKings. I've seen them go up to 60, back down to 30. I saw them go up to 65 and go back down to 45. I saw them go up to 75 and then drop all the way back down to 40. So I believe that ultimately they're going to hit their all-time high again. I think they might even do it by July of next year, to be honest with you. So I also picked in my mind what I feel is not so realistic on paper. So my premium is less expensive. I'm saying the stock's going to damn near double up. So the premium was a lot less expensive, even though I went a far time away. But also, I believe they might actually hit it, you know? So maybe I execute the call later on down the road. I doubt it. I'll probably sell the calls, but they're options, and I got plenty of them. Yeah, DCA, down cost average, correct. I do that with calls too, co-creator. Thank you for bringing that one up. It would be great to hear what your first few option trades were and how they went. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to touch base with that at the end for sure. For sure. I love that actually. It's a great idea. That's it. Now, what are the screener metrics for it? So again, L-Train, I don't use screeners, but 10% in one day. And if I see like 40%, 30% even off of its all-time high, and again, I have to be able to validate that it's for no reason per se. Or if I find out what the reason is, let's just say, I don't think it's justifiable. I believe it's oversold. That's my metric. When I believe it's oversold, that's my metric. But statistically or price-wise, I've noticed 10% and in one day, or 30% or higher off of its all-time high. Hey, this is knowledge from experience. Hit that like button. Appreciate you, Co. It's your strike on Clove, all-time high. My strike on Clove is $43. I went with the highest cost, $43 strike, and the latest date. Again, I believe personally that it'll be there, even if it's organically. I know it sounds so bananas to some, and that's all good. I plan on selling my calls in between time, but I do not plan on selling my shares at all, like at all. It would have to be so insane, $420.69 a share, for me to even consider getting rid of any of my actual shares. But that's why I played about 5% of the call game, to kind of hopefully take advantage of a squeeze play if a squeeze occurs. The beginning, what up, bro? Hey, man. I appreciate that, man. I really do. Appreciate you to the fullest. I'm glad you're here. Are there any questions as of right this moment in time about the all-time high ghost call that I do? My intent on the all-time high ghost call is not to execute, by the way. My intent is to make a play on volatility and hopefully make money in a short time span once people realize it's oversold and it starts to reverse course and get back up to its all-time high. Again, remember one thing I might have left out. When you pick a strike price, depending on what your actual goal is, you're not always saying that it's going to hit that price by that date. You're saying in some cases, I think it'll be more than that in between time frame. Like if a squeeze happens and then I could benefit off of the call then, you could be saying, yeah, I think it's going to hit this price at this point in time and go beyond, and that's why I'm going to execute it. You could also be saying, I don't think it'll ever hit 75 again. No way. It's crazy. But I think for sure it's going to hit at least 65 by the year's end. And up until July, that's 7 months for DraftKings, for example, I have only $10 away from its strike. Maybe it'll be worth a lot more at that point than what I paid for it. So, yeah, depends on your goal, right? Did you do calls with BBC? Peter, you ain't gonna get me on my first stream, man. Because it's either BB Blackberry, but that C is questioning. I'm questioning it. I don't know what this BBC is, man. You better keep it PG. My daughters might be watching this. All right, so let's go with sorry, autocorrect. I meant BBIC. Okay, cool. I was like, man, y'all, I know you guys try to get Tar Heel all the time, man. I'm not as easy to get got, I promise you. BBIC. Are you talking about BBIG? You talking about B big? B big, perhaps? BBIC. Give me a second. I gotta see something. Missing something? BBIC. No, yeah, you're talking about BBIG. Okay, you're talking about BBIG, huh? Yeah, okay, cool. No, you're good. Okay, so no, I did not. I did not do calls on BBIG, and I kind of feel stupid I didn't. Coach did. I did shares. And I'm going to tell you something funny. Again, I don't have screeners. I don't. But I have a lot of people that know I mess with the industry. So I got a phone call from one of my boys that was like, you got to buy this crazy ape NFT, yada, 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 like a month ago. I've never seen more ROI in my life, return on investment in my life this fast. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is this guy talking about? And these NFTs were like off the charts. And I'm just like, what? Okay, I'm not about to buy an NFT just yet. I'm too oblivious. Maybe someone will do a video for me in the future about NFTs because I don't know enough about them. But that same guy hit me up on Friday, I want to say Friday, maybe Thursday. I can't remember, but I'll look at my purchase date and I'll tell you. And he goes, yo, BBIG, you got to buy some shares. It's like an NFT play. Crazy amount of this, crazy, and he's just going off. And I'm like, man, when my boy has conviction, he's done the due diligence where I like trust him, you know? So I think I bought like 100 shares to start. And it started going up. I was like, cool. Then it started going down. And I was like, cool. So I just started buying like, I think 25 at a time as it went down and went down. Even today, I actually bought some at 5. I think it was like 580 or something. I think I got it in the 5s today, actually, even though it tapped 10 yesterday. But I bought more, lowered my average. I don't know exactly how many shares I have. Not much. Maybe 3 to 500. Not much at all, considering, you know, it was like a $5 to $8 purchase price, I think, at the time for me. So I guess that is actually a lot. I probably threw a few grand into it. Now that I think about it, it's a pretty decent amount of change. But yeah, so I didn't buy calls. I bought shares. And I'm actually, if it runs wild, I'll probably sell half, keep the other half, and let the half that I bought for free just kind of free roll, because this guy swears that this could potentially be a good play in the long haul. Something about there's an acquisition they're acquiring someone for like $5 billion is the value of who they're acquiring. And again, I don't do as much research on BBIG myself, but apparently he's telling me how market cap could just increase just off the strength of what this company's worth. Boom, boom. But yeah, so options on stocks as volatile as BBIG. Yeah, so remember, I actually, for the all-time high, the route I take for all-time high calls, we'll call them ghost calls for now, so everyone knows this is just something I do personally. Yeah, I'm looking for volatility. Like, that's what I'm looking for. Huge price dips and huge price increases. Because I feel like I can not execute the call, but I can actually buy and sell the calls on several occasions, right? Like, it jumps up, I sell my call. It dips back down, I buy calls. It jumps back up, I sell my calls, and I just repeat the process. Vinco, yeah, Vinco Ventures. That's the acquisition you talk about, I think, with BBIG. Again, I just didn't do enough research, to be honest. I don't want to steer anyone in any direction, regardless. But yeah. Yeah, 551. I don't think I got it that low today, but I definitely got it pretty low the beginning. I definitely did. I didn't even look. Al Trades actually hit me like, yo, it's in $5 range. It's like, what? Grab some more.